Think About It, a readings by Kemi West, based on insightful words, thoughts, and ideas inspired by the Bible to help encourage you in your daily life. How will you finish your race? The Bible tells the story of Asa, the king of Judah. It says in the book of 1 Kings, chapter 15, verse 14, and it reads, "The places of worship to gods were not removed. Even so, Asa was faithful to the Lord all his life." Asa was faithful all his life, in the sense that he didn't worship idols or encourage the worship of idols. However, he stopped seeking God's guidance. What happened to his life after he stopped seeking God's guidance is reminiscent of those who've come to know God but turned away from Him. God had warned Asa through his prophet Azariah what would happen if he ever turned away from Him. He told Asa this: "The Lord is with you when you are with Him. If you obey Him, you will find Him. But if you leave Him, He will leave you." Despite this warning, Asa turned away from God, and when God showed him the error of his ways, he defiantly chose not to turn back to God. This was after God had told him it was possible to return back to Him if he is willing to seek Him. God even used Israel as an example of those who turned from Him and He took back. God told Asa this in 2 Chronicles chapter 15, verses 3 to 6, and it reads, "For a long time, Israel was without the true God, and without a priest to teach them, and without teachings. But when they were in trouble, they turned to the Lord, the God of Israel. They looked for Him and found Him. In those days, no one could travel safely. There was much trouble in all the nations. One nation would destroy another nation, and one city would destroy another city, because God troubled them with all kinds of distress." In spite of God pre-warning Asa and giving him a way out to return to Him if he gets things wrong, Asa chose to follow his own will. God had given Asa some assurance of support he would receive when he follows and obeys Him. He was assured God's presence will be with him, and God will reward him for his good work. Nevertheless, Asa stayed in his sinful ways, so much so that when he became sick, he would only consult doctors and not seek God until his death. There is an important lesson to learn from Asa's story. His obedience to God was for his own good, because it brought him closer to God. But when he lived in defiance to God, it was detrimental to his life because it cost him separation from God. The real question Asa's defiance poses is this: what happens to Asa's life after his earthly death? Because he will be called to account with God. But what would he have to say to God about his willful defiance? That is something worth thinking about, don't you think? Because God will ask us to account for our lives, and an account we must give to God. Asa started his relationship with God on a high note. He was doing so well, he received a message from God that filled him with courage to keep on keeping on. But somehow it all went wrong, and things ended badly for Asa. It's a warning for the rest of us who follow Christ and walk the godly path to remember that God, not our strength, keeps us. The Bible says in the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 12, that Let anyone who thinks he stands take heed lest he falls. Think about it.